Hi, welcome to China Currents. I'm Chris. 2 weeks ago, we reported that China had arrested a CIA spy. The suspect, whose last name is Zheng, was an employee at a state-owned military corporation. He was lured by the CIA during his stay in Italy and continued to provide critical information to the CIA after he went back to China. We talked about how rare it was for Chinese authority to pinpoint the name of the foreign agency and how China's new anti-espionage law had affected the foreign agency's operation within China. Well, the show is not over yet. On August 21st, China's Ministry of State Security announced that they had captured another CIA spy. The suspect, whose last name is Hao, was arrested for spying for the CIA. Hao was a government official at a critical department who had access to classified information. While he was studying in Japan, Hao was approached and recruited by the personnel from CIA. At that time, Hao was only an employee at a non-confidential department. So the CIA persuaded him, using money of course, to apply for a position within core government departments. And Hao signed the espionage agreement with the CIA and went through multiple assessment and training sessions with the Americans. After returning to China, he continued to have secret meetings with the CIA operatives, provided them with intelligence and receiving espionage-related funds in return. China's newly revised anti-espionage law, which came into effect on July 1st, urged to fight a people's war against foreign spying agencies. In order to safeguard national security, any citizen or organization that discovers espionage activities should promptly report them to the National Security Agency. It would be quite interesting if we compare the two spies. In terms of similarities, both of them were recruited while studying abroad. This is actually a pretty good sign to national security, isn't it? Meaning it is hard for foreign agencies to recruit within the Chinese border. Good work, boys. As for differences, the spy arrested this time, Mr. Hao, was actually trained by the CIA after agreeing to become a spy. On the contrary, the first guy had never gone through the entire CIA curriculum for spying. This is a problem because our new guy was working at a much more critical government body, while the first guy was only an employee at a state-owned military company. But seriously, since all of you will eventually get into that cell, what difference does it make? Well, these spying cases also help netizens to understand a protocol for civil servants. Traditionally, once someone gets a job as a civil servant, he or she needs to hand in the passport. Civil servants, especially the ones who work at crucial departments and those who make it to cadres, will go through a strict procedure before going abroad. People used to consider protocol as redundant and unnecessary, but as the Ministry of State Security began to reveal all their spy cases, netizens have expressed their understanding towards the policy. Next up, on August 19th, the Eastern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army announced that it had organized joint sea and air combat readiness patrols around the Taiwan island, conducting joint exercises involving naval and aerial forces. According to the report from Taiwan, a total of 45 PLA military aircraft and 9 warships were observed operating near the Taiwan Strait. Among the 45 aircrafts, 27 crossed the so-called middle line. Notably, the Eastern Theater Command also released a video of the exercise. Undoubtedly, the aim is to demonstrate the joint combat capabilities of the theater's forces, sending a strong warning to both separatists and foreign countries that engaged in provocations and collusion. The military exercise is a reaction to Lai Ching-te's earlier visit to the United States. Lai, a politician affiliated with Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party, arrived in New York for so-called transit on August 12th. Lai used his brief transit in New York to garner support for his separatist agenda from the United States. Meanwhile, China's Taiwan Affairs Office also started its investigation into trade barriers set by Taiwan Island, which probably will lead to an end of the ECFA, the trade agreement between the mainland and the island. On August 21st, China's General Administration of Customs suspended importing Taiwan's mangoes. According to the official announcement, citrus mealybugs have been found on mangoes from the Taiwan island in recent inspections. The suspension is made to prevent further damage to the mainland's agricultural production. On Chinese internet, many consider the suspension as a warning to the Taiwan separatists. Next up, let's take a look at the BRICS. On August 21st, Chinese President Xi Jinping left Beijing for the 15th BRICS summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. A total of 69 countries, including all of the African countries, have been invited to the summit. The Chinese president previously visited South Africa in 2018 as he sought to enhance China's diplomatic and economic ties with Africa. BRICS is an acronym for the developing countries of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS countries represent 43% of the world's population, 16% of the world's trade, and a larger share of the world's GDP than that of the G7. Most of the netizens in Chinese social media expressed their expectations for the 2023 summit and hope that more strong economic measures will be proposed to boost the economy. On August 24th, the BRICS agreed to admit Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Argentina, Egypt, and Ethiopia to the organization, marking the second expansion in the organization's history. The group was originally formed in 2009 by Brazil, Russia, India, and China. South Africa was added in 2010. Chinese President Xi Jinping called the expansion historic and said it will bring vigor to the group. Chinese netizens expect BRICS to play a role in resolving national and regional disputes, and the admission of new members could guarantee China's stability in accessing oil resources. Next up, let's focus on the nuclear disaster in Japan. On August 22nd, Japan declared its intention to commence the release of nuclear contaminated water from the devastated Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. In response to these announcements, China expressed vehement opposition, labeling the act as extremely selfish and irresponsible. Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong summoned Hideo Tarumi, the Japanese ambassador to China, to formally express China's concerns and objections regarding this decision. Sun emphasized that Japan's decision blatantly disregards the firm opposition of the global community. He further warned that if Japan persists with the discharges, China will take all necessary measures to safeguard the ocean, ensure food safety, and protect the health and well-being of our citizens. During a regular news briefing in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin reiterated China's concerns, urging Japan to rectify its decisions, engage in sincere communication with neighboring countries, responsibly handle the contaminated water, and accept stringent international oversight. In a related development, John Lee Ka-chiu, the chief executive of China's Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, announced an immediate ban on importing Japanese seafood products. The Macau Special Administrative Region also declared a ban on importing live and fresh food products from the 10 Japanese prefectures and regions effective from Thursday. Following the two SARs, on August 24th, 2 hours after Japan began dump nuclear wastewater into the Pacific Ocean, China's General Administration of Customs announced the suspension of all seafood imports from Japan. The agency said the measures aim to prevent radioactive contaminated Japanese seafood from entering China and protect the life and health of the Chinese people. Chinese customs will strengthen supervision of food imports from Japan. Previously, China had banned seafood imports from 10 prefectures in Japan, including Fukushima and Tokyo, but allowed imports from other prefectures if they passed radioactive testing. The latest import ban now encompasses all of Japan. Next up, on August 22nd, the Chinese ambassador to Myanmar, Chen Hai, met with the Thai and Lao ambassadors to the country to discuss and coordinate efforts in tackling local gambling, telecom fraud, and trafficking in the border region. The urgency of these collaborations stems from the increasing prevalence of telecom frauds, particularly those originating from northern Myanmar. Furthermore, the region near Myanmar's border has become a hotspot for human traffickers who deceive unemployed youth with promises of lucrative overseas jobs and poses a serious threat to the lives and property of the peoples in neighboring countries. The embassies of the three countries in Myanmar have expressed great concern and are continuously working on addressing this issue. The embassies are fully coordinating with Myanmar authorities to conduct search and rescue operations and assist in intensifying efforts to combat gambling and fraud syndicates. The challenge now is to ensure that this region does not continue to serve as a safe haven for criminals. Next up, On the morning of August 22nd, North Korea's Air Koryo landed its first international commercial flight in Beijing, marking the country's reopen after 3 years since the COVID pandemic. The flight was set to take off a day before but was cancelled at the last minute, and the fluctuation was regarded as a sign of indecisiveness. Discussion on Chinese internet focused on what has made up Kim Jong-un's mind. Some connect this to the recent Typhoon Kanon, which passed through the entire Korean peninsula. Storms and floods ravaging the land might have proven detrimental to North Korea's food production, forcing the country to call for a helping hand, especially from China. Others associate this with the military alliance between China and DPRK, which just consolidated as DPRK commemorated the 70th anniversary of the Korean War armistice in high profile. By reopening its border, North Korea seeks to increase its defense tie with China against more aggressive US force in Korean Peninsula. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. Chris, looking forward to hearing from you and see you next time.